Hey, what's happening, guys? Good morning, everybody. What's going on? YouTube, you guys have tuned into Rules for Rebels, and today is, I was confused on a day for a second. Today is Thursday, I believe it is. Today is Thursday, April 27th, 2023. Bringing you guys a bonus video today. I mentioned how I'm going to be going to a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday schedule. We're no longer going to be doing the 5 days a week thing. But I had a little bit of free time last night, and there was actually some interesting news to talk about, so I figured we'd crank out a video today. A lot of stuff to talk about today. We're going to be talking about how Indiana and these second and third tier cities are becoming the new hot housing markets due to affordability, as well as a lot of jobs kind of moving to these areas. I know Purdue wants to be kind of the next tech hub in the country. We got Argentina ditching the dollar in favor of the yuan. Amazon's previously announced 9,000 layoffs are going to begin with Amazon Web Services, which is surprising because that's a profitable division of the company. Amazon's return to office also starts next week. Saw an interesting video from the Economic Ninja talking about some things going on at the post office and why it signals trouble for the economy. Excuse me. And a whole bunch of other stuff we're going to be talking about in today's video. We'll also be talking about how the markets finished up yesterday, where crypto is at. And speaking of crypto, Binance has backed out of the deal to buy Voyager. So all that and more will be discussed today. Before we get into today's video, shout out to the sponsor of today's video, Temu. Temu is an online shopping platform very similar to a Wish.com or an AliExpress or a DHgate. If you are a consumer and you're just looking for some cheap items to pick up that you can get for a lot cheaper than Amazon, I recently bought a bunch of stuff to start my garden this year off of Temu. I got a net to trellis my cucumbers on. I got some really large felt pots that are almost kind of like planting beds. I got some clips to clip my cucumbers and tomatoes and things like that to some of these nets that I bought. And things that on Amazon would be $15, $17, $24, I'm getting off Temu for $2, $3, and $4. Also, if you are a drop shipper, Temu could potentially be a place for you to drop ship from. Or if you sell items on eBay or Amazon, you're looking for a place to source cheap items without having to deal with freight forwarders and without having to buy in bulk. Temu can be a great place for that as well. Temu also has a new affiliate program that pays $5 per app download and up to 20% commissions on items you sell. And also new Temu users get 30% off their first purchase. So link in the description box below is going to be my affiliate link to Temu, along with a coupon code that'll save you 30% off your purchase if you want to check that out. So let's talk about how the markets finished up yesterday. The Dow finished, or I should say how the markets finished down yesterday. The Dow finished down 228 points. The NASDAQ finished down 1.14%. The S&P 500 finished down 0.38%. Give you guys a little bit of an update on crypto. Bitcoin currently sitting at about $29,000 even. Ethereum at $18.86. And BNB, well, it hasn't seen the run-ups of some of these other coins. BNB has been sitting steadily above $300, sitting at about $330. I don't know if it's happened already. If it hasn't happened already, it'll be happening within the next 24 hours. Bitcoin is within 1 year of the halving. We're currently sitting at 29,000. As we get closer to the Bitcoin halving, historically, Bitcoin prices rise. I would say within 6 months of the halving, I would expect us to be at least at like 35 grand, really kind of ramping up to the halving. I wouldn't be surprised if we top out around 50,000. Obviously, Bitcoin could go much higher, but just, all other things not considered, just the halving itself, I think should at some point within the next year drive Bitcoin up to about 50 grand. And then in other crypto news, Binance recently announced that they're backing out of the Voyager deal. So Voyager, the cryptocurrency exchange, collapsed. That was kind of a surprising one. They were traded on the Canadian Stock Exchange. They were thought to be one of the more legitimate companies. They wound up going under. At first, FTX was going to buy them. Turned out the only reason FTX wanted to buy them was to wipe out the debt that FTX owed to them. That deal wound up falling apart. Then Binance came to the rescue. Binance was going to buy them. Payouts were supposed to be going out sometime this summer. Yesterday, Binance backed out of the deal to buy Voyager. And this is really kind of, people love saying 4D chess, 5D chess, 6D chess. CZ is really kind of the ultimate businessman. Some people may say con man. But basically, all Binance was buying was Voyager users. Binance was essentially everybody who lost money on Voyager had to go sign up for a Binance.us account. in order to get their funds. There are a few states that weren't eligible, I think Texas and Hawaii among a few others. But Binance already got the emails of all the Voyager users. Most Voyager users had already migrated over to Binance.us to set up accounts over there to wind up getting their payouts. And then Binance backed out of the deal. Binance cited regulatory uncertainty, which is fair. The Department of Justice actually tried to block that deal, basically preventing U.S. customers from getting their money back. But, there seems to be a war going on crypto now. A war going on against crypto now. It's kind of understandable that Binance would not want to buy Voyager. That deal falls through. So without spending a penny, without even having to go through with the deal, Binance still essentially acquired all the Voyager users or has their emails and contact information so that they can continue to market to them. So that was kind of an interesting story. My man Brian Phobos has been talking about this for a while. He's oftentimes ahead of trends. He's been talking about smaller cities in the U.S. and Indiana in particular. As an area that he thought could be profitable or he thought could be a hot housing market. We had a flurry of articles coming out about how Indiana is one of the hottest housing markets in the country. I believe the second fastest growing or hottest housing market in the city is actually at Lafayette, Indiana, which is I don't know distance. I'm going to guess maybe 30, 45 minutes northwest of Indianapolis. Crown Point, Indiana, also exploding, and we're also seeing growth in cities like Kansas City. And a lot of these kind of like second and third tier cities. I think in the past, there was this kind of like fake narrative that anything besides Los Angeles or New York was like some podunk hillbilly town. And I think people are realizing, in some of these second and third tier cities, you still have vibrant communities, you still have great dining, you still have museums, you still have millions of people, but the cost of living is half or a quarter of what it would be in New York or LA or even Chicago. And so people are realizing you can have a great life and the opportunities in these cities. And so that's kind of interesting to see, and I think we're going to continue to see that trend happen. Argentina ditches the dollar in favor of the yuan, the Chinese yuan. Argentina will pay for imports in Chinese yuan instead of the U.S. dollar, and we're further seeing a decline of the U.S. dollar. Amazon had previously announced 9,000 layoffs. Turns out those layoffs are going to be starting with HR and Amazon Web Services. So the HR part isn't surprising. HR, diversity and inclusion, kind of all these nonsense departments that don't do much. Of course, they're going to be laid off during tough times. But Amazon Web Services is probably the most profitable and the area of Amazon that people are most bullish on. So it's surprising that AWS or Amazon Web Services is laying people off. And we talked about in a video the other day. We're starting to see articles. The layoffs are finally starting to come for those who learned how to code. A few years back and even back during the Great Recession, there was this narrative: you lost your job, just learn to code. Well, now even the people who learn to code are being laid off. Amazon had previously announced a return to office 3 times per week. That actually starts next week. Amazon recently issued an FAQ to employees regarding this, and apparently no matter how far you moved away from Amazon's headquarters or Amazon's offices during the Mexican beer cough, you are expected to be back in the office 3 times per week. There are a few rare exceptions, but generally speaking, everybody needs to be back in the office, and we'll see what this winds up doing to the housing market. Are people who move to Boise and other areas of the country going to have to rent their homes, sell their homes, and if so, what effect will that have on the housing market? We got a story from CBS News. 3 years later, bosses and employees still clash over a return to the office, kind of following up on that previous Amazon story. Research shows that companies are becoming disproportionately focused on their customers' needs, often at the expense of their workers. And here's something when it comes to remote work. I've been saying this from the start. The reason people like remote work is because they don't have somebody looking over their shoulder and they're allowed to, quote unquote, steal some more time back from their employer. So if you're in the office, whether you have work to do or not, you're staring at the computer screen pretending to be busy, and it's occupying 8, 9, 10 hours of your day. If you're working from home and you can finish your 8-hour workday in 2 hours, 3 hours, even 5 hours, that extra time, nobody's looking over your shoulder, that can essentially be free time. And that's why people like work from home. Now, ultimately, I would like to see a world where people are paid for a specific result, a specific end goal, a specific task, and we kind of detach from this idea of time for money. But that's the world that we're living in right now, is where we pay people for sitting in a chair for 8 hours. We pay people time for money. I don't think remote work will be super prominent until viewing, compensation that way changes. Yes, it looks like employers and employees are still battling it out over the return to the office. There was an interesting video yesterday from the Economic Ninja. I've been enjoying his channel recently. Check him out. A couple weeks ago, he had done, maybe a week, two back, he had done a video about how he'd gotten some inside information from Amazon about how Amazon was concerned about the economy. Amazon was concerned with the change in consumers' buying habits. Amazon was concerned that people were only buying needs and not buying wants. Well, now he's got inside information from the post office. He got a letter from somebody who worked at the post office. They said previously the post office sorting facility he worked at was wall to wall with packages. They used to have mandatory overtime. You could never get time off to take a vacation. They went from mandatory overtime and no days off to basically begging people to go home early, sending people home 2 hours into their shift, and happily giving people days off. He also talked about how during the Mexican beer cough, the USPS union filed a complaint about people being overworked, not being able to take days off, all this mandatory overtime, having to work weekends. In normal government fashion and in normal government inefficiency, the government decided to solve a problem that wasn't a problem 3 years after the fact. So, now there's no packages to move. The post offices are kind of dead. We don't have this huge, back during the Mexican beer cough when you couldn't go to stores and everybody was ordering things online, there was a huge surge in demand. There were more packages moving. Well, that has gone away. That has slowed down. But 3 years later, the government is trying to tackle a problem that only existed back in 2020, 2021. So now at the same time that USPS is sending people home early, doesn't have enough work for people, they're hiring a flurry of new people. This guy talked about how all these new employees are starting at the post office. At the same time, other people are being sent home and they're all looking for things to do because there's nothing to do. I thought that was kind of an interesting story. And, we're kind of seeing the same thing from the private sector, UPS, FedEx. They're furloughing drivers. There's just nothing to do, right? Because there's not a lot of packages moving. There's not a lot of economic activity happening. I think we've talked about this in recent weeks, but people keep taking these TikTok videos showing entire Target stores locked down. Literally every aisle, every inventory item is under lock and key. This isn't good for honest customers who just want to stop and grab a gallon of milk on their way home. You have to go find an employee to open up the case for you so that you could take it to the register and buy it. It's also not good for employees. It's not good for the company. Think about how many more employees you have to have if every single item somebody wants to buy winds up being locked up. Think about when you go on a big grocery shopping run and you have a cart full of stuff. Imagine if you had to go find a Target employee to unlock every single case for your milk, your crackers, your cereal, toothbrush, toothpaste, whatever else you buy. Think about a whole cart of stuff and having to get a Target employee to unlock every single one of those items for you. And what a headache that would be and what a drain on the company's resources that would be as well. I saw kind of a crazy video from China. This was a Chinese news report on AI in schools. In China, in some schools, they actually have kids wearing headbands. I wouldn't say headbands. It's like a very high-tech headband, but essentially wearing headbands that measure their brain activity and concentration, and it instantly reports that info to their teachers on an iPad, and it also reports that information to their parents. So basically, you have something monitoring your brain on whether you're concentrating enough or not. So there's no staring at the wall, pretending like you're paying attention. They can actually tell. They also wear vests around school that track their location. And also, I don't know if you guys have ever seen those Chinese social credit system videos where cars and people on the street, there'll be thousands and thousands of people on the street, and everybody has a little box around them like they're in a video game, and everybody has a social credit score above their head, and everybody is being tracked. They essentially have that in their schools as well. And I think that's a little bit overboard. I think that's a little bit extreme, but China is trying to be competitive. And on the other hand, the next story I saw today comes from the Wall Street Journal. Wall Street Journal, schools are ditching homework and deadlines in favor of equitable grading. They say this approach aims to measure mastery and account for hardships at home, though some teachers say that kids are gaming the system. We also have colleges getting rid of ACT scores and SAT scores. At a time when China is trying to be uber competitive, China wants to put out a generation of really bright kids. We, in the name of social equity or whatever, are saying, let's not do grades, let's not do tests. let's not challenge kids, because some people may feel bad if they're not on the same level of another kid. We're just really kind of dumbing down future generations. I thought this story was kind of crazy. There's a YouTuber who was recently found guilty for selling metal cards that were essentially bottle openers. The Department of Justice say that these are machine gun conversion devices. The gentleman's name is Matthew Hoover. He runs a YouTube channel with a little under 200,000 subscribers called CSR Firearms, and he's facing 45 years in prison for the manufacturing of a bottle opener, which is essentially a metal card, but it has cutouts that if somebody were to follow these cutouts with a Dremel, could make like a machine gun conversion. His lawyer is essentially arguing, if my client's guilty of this, then everybody who shares files for 3D printing of firearms, firearm accessories, or firearm parts is also guilty of this as well. It'll be interesting to see how that case winds up shaking out. There's definitely a big attack on guns in the Second Amendment right now as well. We got a Vermont school district who is going to remove the terms male and female from sex ed curriculum. Instead, the classes will use terms like person who produces sperm and person who produces eggs. I don't know about you guys. In my worldview, somebody who produces sperm is a man and somebody who produces eggs is a woman. But this is a new world we're living in. And then lastly, we got Biden has officially announced that he's running for president, and DeSantis, well, he hasn't officially announced he's running for president, essentially said he will be announcing that he's running for president. So it's looking like the 2024 election is going to be Joe Biden against Ron DeSantis. We'll really get nothing but bad choices in this country. I would pick DeSantis over Biden in a second, but I'm no fan of DeSantis either. Anyhow, guys, like I said, this is just kind of a bonus video. That's kind of the stories we got for you guys today. I will be bringing you a video tomorrow. As always, I would love to hear your thoughts, comments, and opinions on anything and everything we've discussed in today's video. If you're not subscribed to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below and ring the bell. Check out the sponsor of today's video, Temu. Link in the description box below, along with a coupon code that will save you 30% off your purchase. And I will catch you guys on tomorrow's video, guys. Later. Peace. I'm out.